Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, February 19th, 2023. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And another week has passed, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. And we're going to look at climate things and methane and sea ice and satellite views of sea ice as well, and some earthquakes. So we're going to start out with Climate Reanalyzer here for today. These are the maximum temperatures worldwide, and we're still seeing this really cold air from northern Canada up through the Arctic and into Russia. But if you'll look on this east side, this is much warmer air that's coming up this North Atlantic, and this is above freezing. So it's one reason that we haven't had more of a regrowth of sea ice in this Barents Sea. And in fact, it's been a while since there was any significant ice in the Barents Sea. I mean, a few years. So because this whole area is changing because of the Atlantic Ocean coming in and changing things. Here's the flat view, and we can see temperatures have gone down a little bit in South America. We're not seeing any whites. Here we've got whites across the equatorial region in Africa, and then a lot of whites over Australia, especially on the west side, and then in the interior. And those temperatures, well, if it's just like the spotty white, reddish and white, like what we're seeing in Africa, that's about 40 degrees C. But when you get into the super solid white, according to the ledger, getting on up like 45 C, and then it goes into gray as you get up to 50 C. So that's hot, and it is still summer in the southern hemisphere, and it's heading towards fall, and just like it's still winter in the northern hemisphere, and we're seeing hints of spring, but it's, we're not done with winter yet. Here's 2 meter temperature anomaly, and this, we can see it's still in the red zone in this area around Svalbard over to Novaya Zemlya and Severnaya Zemlya, and then lots of browns around there, and then blues right next to it, which is colder than normal. And let's see, Alaska's brown, western Canada is brown, then lots of blues and into the purples even, so that's quite a bit colder than normal. And here in the US, it's kind of a mix between the blues and the browns, so just depending on where you are and what kind of broken jet piece. I don't call it jet stream anymore. what kind of broken jet piece you got caught under. And here's the flat view, and you can see from Spain over, it's heating back up throughout Europe. And India, Pakistan, China, etc. And see Australia, see the browns, that's where we saw the really super hot temperatures too. Now the Antarctic is also heating up at the same time. I wanted to show you this. This has been going on for about the last week. We're seeing much higher temperatures than normal here on this whole east side. You can see it's headed up into the dark red, which is like 16 to 18 C higher than normal. Also on the south end, over the Ross Ice Shelf, and then this southeast edge, and then this whole Weddell Sea area, Weddell Ice Shelf, and this western peninsula. See, we've got reds and browns too. So both north and south poles are significantly higher than normal. And here's the overview. Worldwide, we're up 0.52 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.7 C. The Arctic is up 1.84 C. And the Antarctic is up 2.07 C. So it's just a little higher than the Arctic as far as anomaly. Southern hemisphere is up 0.34 C, and the tropics are up 0.02 C. So all the regions are up, and then when you have Arctic and Antarctic both up, that's a sign of runaway warming. But you wouldn't know it with a lot of the cold temperatures we've had and the weather, but it throws everything out of balance, and so you can have frigid air that's escaped down into Mexico, and even with the global heating, and because it upsets the jet stream and everything, which we've already seen. Here's precipitation and clouds, and the green is rain. There's this big long atmospheric river coming across the Atlantic here up to Norway, and see, it turns into snow as it approaches Iceland, but it's rain just east of that, and then we've got all these blues. This is snow around here. There, that's the view I wanted. And so after these systems move through the US and Canada, then they just march right across the Atlantic, and our friends over here will get what we had in a few days. Here's the flat view. And here's the next system coming in. Look at the curve there, the cloud, and then another one right after that. Okay, and then here are the jet pieces, the broken up jet pieces. See the break here. Here's the cold air coming down on either side. Here's the flat view. Let's see. Breaks, and we've got parallel looping and extra high looping, extra low looping. We've been seeing this in the middle of the Pacific, where it splits and one arm goes to the south and the other one goes to the north. And then we've got one that picks up just north of the equator and ends up being one long solid line a lot of times, just all the way across this eastern, this East Tropic area. We've got high winds here coming across Japan and over the Pacific. Well, we're going to look at sea ice separately. This is sea surface temperature anomaly as of yesterday, and this all looks about the same up here in the Barents Sea and Svalbard. We're getting a few more brown spots come in. This area is still in the dark, but this whole Russia coastline is now in the sunlight, and so as this water starts heating up, we're going to see these temperatures get a lot higher. And see, the Great Lakes are getting browns in them now. And this is a constant higher than normal just off the seacoast of North America. And Gulf of Mexico is still in the browns. Here's a flat view, and we're seeing more browns come in just west of South America. This is in the equatorial Pacific, as things are kind of shifting and the El Nino is coming in. And we've got reddish browns here in the Tasman Sea as this water is heating up. This is common in their summertime between Australia and New Zealand. We're also seeing browns all around the Antarctic coastline. Let's see, all the way around. And here's our blob in the South Atlantic, and you can see the whole Atlantic is almost all in the browns, warmer than normal. And then it's spread out just south of Africa. So there's that. And now we'll move on to methane. And I just wanted to mention I'm really not covering the Ohio train derailment. There are a lot of people covering that. I do talk about the effects of the toxic chemicals that got burned in the atmosphere. I've been talking about that on my Subscribe Star channel, but I've got so much on my plate, and I really I've just got to stay focused on gathering this data, and so that we have a record of methane and sea ice especially. But it was a complete disaster, and I'm very disturbed by it, and what's happened there is it's going to happen more and more and more as things start breaking down more, and we're watching the collapse of the environment and society and the infrastructure, and some of it may be on purpose, set on purpose. Other things may be as a result of just infrastructure falling apart, or the different atmosphere or whatever. But my heart goes out to all the people that are affected by that, and it won't go away anytime soon. And the farmland is poisoned around there, the water is poisoned, and the officials are saying that everything is fine. And so, you just got to do your own research, and there are lots of people reporting on it, and so I'm praying for all of y'all, and it's coming. Everywhere we go is just getting more and more toxic, and this is part of the end. And so there's nowhere to go. I mean, anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent. So anyway, here's the NOAA methane data we're going to look at now for yesterday, the 18th, in the morning. Met B satellite, starting with the 1,000 millibar level. The mean or average was 1,837 parts per billion. The high reading was 2119. In the afternoon, the mean was 1839. The high reading was 2193. On the Met-C satellite in the morning, the mean was 1844. The high reading was 2106. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1848. And the high reading was 2131. Okay, here's our weekly chart, and so the 18th averaged out to be 1842.0 parts per billion, and that's a slight decrease. Well, it's a decrease, slight decrease for this week, 0.5 parts per billion. And it's from this square to this square. And we had another low day on what day was this? The 16th, it was at 1840.75, and that tied with our lows on January 22nd and 23rd. So we've had 3 days that hit this same low, and so I'm thinking that's going to be our low at this level for this year. And you can see here, this one from the 16th is here, and see straight across from January. Now let's see what happened this week. So in my show last Sunday, we had ended at 1842.5, and we'd gone down 1.5 that week. And then the 12th, no change. 13th, it went down 1.25. 14th, no change. 15th, down another 0.25. 16th, down another 0.25. The 17th, up 0.25. And then the 18th, which is what we just looked at, ended at 1842. So that's an increase of 1.0 from the day before. And that gives us an overall decrease for the week of 0.5. And I'm going to talk about some of this in a minute. Now, switching to the 487 millibar level, back to Saturday in the morning for the Met-Op B satellite. The mean was 1902. The high reading was 2386. In the afternoon, the mean was 1908. The high reading was 2393. On the Met-Op C satellite in the morning, the mean was 1869. The high reading was 2171. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1868 and the high reading was 2197. Now we have quite a bit of missing data in areas that are high methane producers, like India here, South America on both sides, and this whole east side of the U.S. high methane producer. So we are missing data, but this is what we've got. So it's anyway. So here's our chart for the week, and so the 18th averages out to be 1886.75 parts per billion. Last week we ended at 1890.25. So it went down this week a total of 3.5. And we hit a new low on the 16th of 1885.0. So I took out the other low that was in here, because this is our new low, 1885, right here. And you can see we've gone up from that. But we're still down 3.5 this week. So let's see what happened. So here we were in our show last week. we ended at 1890.25 and no change for the whole week. And then the 12th went down 1.5, 13th went up 0.5, the 14th went down 2.75, the 15th went down 0.75, the 16th went down another 0.75. That was our lowest at 1885.0. And then the 17th we went back up 0.25, and the 18th we went up 1.5, giving us an overall decrease for the week of 3.5. So we can see it went down quite a bit this week, and then the last 2 days seemed pretty good increase there. Now what I wanted to show and talk about was that it's kind of late in the season for it to still be going down like this compared to our past the past tracking that I did. And for instance, here here was the my tracking from March the 1st of 2019 to where the model ended in October 2022. And what we saw in my tracking in 2019 in the winter, we hit our low on December 28th, 2019. So that was, a couple of months earlier than where we are now. And then, so that was the winter of 2019 to 2020. And then, for the 2020 to 2021 winter, our low was on January 12th, 2021. And then last year our low was on January 14th in 2022. So it's from what I've been seeing, it's kind of late for it to still be going down. But in the past, the typical cooling season for methane would start in about October until about March or April, and then it would really start heating back up as the with the going into the spring and summer in the northern hemisphere, because that's where most of the methane comes up, is in the northern hemisphere. That's where the majority of the population is. And so we're just tracking. I'm just tracking and reporting. And we do have the new model, the heat model, but we can still do overall comparisons of when were we at the lowest, when were we at the highest, and things like that. And now we'll go over the CAMS methane data. We're going to start, or we're going to look at Saturday the 18th. Arctic view and surface level. So the data is for Saturday, and forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. So even with methane going down overall for the week, we can still see it's coming up through the sea ice here. See, starting here in the Laptev Sea, see the reds, and just spreading out. And here, East Siberian Sea. Here's still kind of bubbling at Komsomolets, and high readings here at Koktovik, and the interior of Russia. So we've got high readings, just depending on the day, what's going on. And we're seeing higher background readings over Canada. So we're seeing more in shades of yellow instead of green, yellowish, and like the yellow green here. That's a higher level as a background color than the green that we normally see there. Okay, now we'll go to the North Pole view. And we can see it coming back to life in Europe. Here's the Persian Gulf. Here's India filled up, still spilling over the Bengal Bay, China. See the red spilling over there. And here in the U.S., lots and lots, from Texas all the way over, and California. See the blobs. Now we're going to hop to the Antarctic. And we can see the background color has cooled down to this darker blue of 1820 parts per billion. And you can see, you can isolate where the methane's coming up around a lot of the sea, the coastlines here in the Antarctic. This big area is along the whole Brunt ice shelf region, And remember that A81 iceberg that broke off there about a month ago. And this Western Peninsula, see, it's coming up through the sea ice and on the peninsula as well. And here around the little elbow, and Pine Island Glacier's right up in there. And here on the southern coast, just next to the Ross Sea. And here, this whole Amory ice shelf, we're seeing, it just depends on the day. And sometimes, see this east coast, you'll see it come up. And here on the north coast. So that's about 1840 to 1860 parts per billion, those lighter regions. Now we'll go to the global view. And so you can see the dark blue in the southern hemisphere. Now Australia has higher methane readings with the higher temperatures. Remember, like last week, it was hard to make out Australia because it was mainly in the dark blue zone. But now we've got higher readings, so it's lighter, and you can see where Australia is. And here's our demarcation right around the equator, but certain areas, see, it's higher, it's creeping down higher further south, especially in the Pacific. Okay, here it is at 500 HPA, and we can see it's redistributing because of the change of seasons and the heavier methane. See, we've got it moving further south, and we're seeing lighter readings creeping in the northern regions. But it's still super high. See, we got reds, see, coming a lot further south. Here's total column. And see, heaviest at China, over to Japan, here's India, and then lots of reds besides that. Now go over a couple more things from CAMS. This is sulfur dioxide for today. We've got a new high reading here off the coast of Maine and Canada here. See that? Just south of Greenland. And also here, South America, and a big one here, just south of Kamchatka. That's, I'm thinking that's probably volcano related. Here it is at 500 HPA. And see it splotchy. That's usually volcano related. And see it shot up at a force up into the atmosphere. And same thing here in South America. And here, this is kind of interesting. Let's see if we can zoom in. See, this shape is more well defined, and see, it looks like an upside down kind of curving exclamation point. And a lot of times that's an energy signature of a pending earthquake. And it's like the rocks are moving ahead of time in the ground, and as they're sliding, if there's a pocket of sulfur dioxide, sometimes that gets released and it just jumps right up. And it's usually pretty well defined like this, and then we'll see within a day or two an earthquake happen in that area. But this is, and we don't see a lot of earthquakes in this area. It's really right at the bottom of the Baffin Bay, and I know that they were talking about spraying sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere, releasing it to try and block out the sun and cool down the planet. I don't know if they've started doing that, and if they did, what would it look like, and would it show up on CAMS? And I'm thinking maybe it would. Maybe if they're spraying at a high altitude like that, it could just hang around up there, and it would be more well defined, because it wouldn't be just like a big explosion from a volcano that would be blotchy. It would be more defined. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to do a little research on that, and that was just a thought. Okay, here's our ozone hole over the Antarctic today, and we can see shades of green over most of the continent. We're finally getting a little bit thicker ozone here. The solid yellow represents 300 Dobson units. But that's the area, one of the areas where we're seeing super high temperatures too for the Antarctic. Also, this whole Weddell Sea area and Weddell Ice Shelf. And it's moving into aqua here, which is the next color down. So the hole didn't go away. It's still there. And here's the Arctic ozone. See all this heavy anyway. So here's the global view. See this big break in the Atlantic? We're starting to see a few more yellows interspersed in this equatorial region. But we've got aqua in the West Pacific too. And anything in a greenish shade, green shade or blue, is going to be below average. Uh-oh, is that a hole opening up? I just now noticed that. Let's go. Where am I? Let's just go to Ozone and check it out real quick. I'm going to be curious about that till I see. Go to today. Looks like a hole, doesn't it? Let's see. Yeah, it's a hole. It was small and it closed right up. But that's that would be in this blue zone. Okay, watch it when it starts over. Right in here. It's got to load up. Here it goes. See? Right there. Yeah, so that's south of Japan and those islands. These are volcanic islands. So it's just south of that area. Let's see. And it's got the thick black line around it, meaning it's in the danger zone. So it's this kind of bluish color that measures between 200 and 220 Dobson units. And we've seen holes open up there before too. So there's that. I'm not surprised. Okay, and that was all of those. Now we'll move on to the sea ice part of our video now. And we're going to start with a slideshow. These are images that I download from Climate Reanalyzer every day, or try to. This is sea ice and snow cover, and the regrowth is not doing very well. We're still having this area just wispy ice kind of hanging on here where it regrew in this North Barents Sea. But remember, we saw a big hole open up all the way up to Franz Josef Land, and there's a little ice coming in there, but there's still a hole next to Franz Josef Land. And we're seeing ice coming down further down on this east side of Greenland, and a little bit more along the Canada coastline too. And it's mainly thickening more than anything. Okay, so here we were last Sunday, and you can see the hole here, and the ice had reformed in a shape of a cross. I thought that was kind of interesting. So let's click through and see what happened. Here's the 13th, 14th, there's some regrowth. 15th, 16th, no, there's some retreat. 17th, 18th, there's retreat. And here we are today with a little bit of regrowth. So, I mean, this is very fluid situation there. Now we'll look at the Navy models. This is from the U.S. Navy. This is Arctic sea ice thickness. Color ledger on the right, and not seeing very much of the thickest ice. The red is 4 to 5 meters thick. We're just seeing that like around some of the Canadian coastline, and here around Greenland and Ellesmere Island. The green is 3 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick, and then the darker aqua is about 1.5 meters thick. This kind of purple blue is about 1 meter thick, and then the lavender goes under that, goes down to light lavender being almost nothing. So just wispy ice. So let's zoom in and see what we've got here. So quadrant 2, this is where the Atlantic comes up and is affecting this whole area, and we've got some wispy regrowth here in the Bering Sea and back over to the east side of the ice. But it's exiting this thicker ice. It's flowing. It separates. The dividing point is about from this Lincoln Sea up, and so the ice on the right slides down along Greenland, and the ice on the left slides down towards the Beaufort Sea. And then it's thickening as it's doing that, and we can see that the aqua has thickened. It's thickened to aqua all the way across to Russia, except here in this Lattev Sea it's still quite thin. Also in this Chukchi Sea it's still quite thin. And we've got more aquas as it's thickened up in these tributaries in this Canadian archipelago, and a little more thickening in the Baffin Bay. and a little bit more regrowth along the Canada coastline, and we're just seeing a fringe of ice coming in on the southwest edge of Greenland, and we're getting some aqua thickening here in the Hudson Bay. Here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday, so the data goes back 3 weeks, and forecast goes out to Saturday. So let's see what's happening here this week. And you can see that the ice drift just pulls it away, and then it slides back, pulls it away from these coastlines, and that opens up holes, and then it slides back. And this whole area, it's really affected in this where it's thin to begin with, because as it's pulled, then it just really opens up around the coastlines. And so we haven't reached maximum extent yet. Usually that happens kind of early March. And so let's stop it. Okay, here we are at the end of the model. So here we are today. See, there's still this hole at Franz Josef Land, and you'll see that kind of filling back up as the ice drifts back east. And let's see what kind of thickening happens. Here we go. I'll just click through. You can see that movement. See, it's moving east now. And a little thickening. One more. And so not much change this week. It's just kind of holding. And, like I said earlier, the sun is up for the whole Russia coastline, and Alaska, Canada, along in the Beaufort Sea, and then it's still dark in this northern archipelago region and North Greenland. Svalbard is still in the dark. Franz Josef Land and Severnaya Zemlya. Here's the Beaufort Sea ice thickness for today. So here's Canada. See the reds, the darker red along the coastline. And then the aqua and bright aqua, a little bit of green. Here's the 30-day animation. And we're seeing thickening. And, it just gradually doing some more thickening as it can. Okay, here's the Antarctic. This looks bleak. This is for today. So here's what we've got left of the thicker sea ice right in here along the western peninsula, and then it's really thin. And look at all of this, it's melted in the Weddell Sea. I mean, it's still melting. Okay, here's the 30-day animation, and this one was updated to yesterday. And so the forecast period goes out to Saturday. And it's still thinning more along the coastlines. Just going down to little nubs. Now we haven't reached minimum extent yet for this season. Last year I think it happened right around the end of February, and so we're getting there. It's close. It's slowing down though. Okay, here's National Snow and Ice Data Center. Arctic sea ice concentration, and see the brown, that's the median, and so we're well below the median here. Here's our refreeze chart. So this blue line is this year. This dotted line was 2012, was the spring of 2012. See, we're still pretty good ways below 2012, and we're definitely below the median. We had see, it had flatlined here for a few days, and then a little bit of regrowth, and it just looks like it's starting to flatline again. But if you look at the curve, see, we're reaching maximum extent pretty quick here. And here's the Antarctic, and here's the melting chart. The blue line is this year, this kind of greenish gray line is last year, and it's kind of flatlined. See, and we're still below last year, and it's still at record low. But we'll probably meet up with last year here sometime this week. That's all of those. Okay, now we'll move on to NASA Worldview why don't we start in the Arctic and see this black circle? That's where it's still dark up here, and that's growing smaller by the day. And see, there's just a little bit of this Taimyr Peninsula that's still in the dark. Otherwise, the whole Russia coastline is in the light now. So let's, here's sea ice concentration, and so right around here from Svalbard to Franz Josef Land, I mean, this is in flux. So let's see what happened this week. Okay, here we were last Sunday. So we'll click through. Here's the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and here we are today. So not a lot of change. And I did look at the nighttime layer, and here's all we have. This is from yesterday, but this is a pretty good view of this Lincoln Sea. See all the cracks here, and this nearest strait, and see all the dark, that's open water. So it's worth showing it for that. And that's about all we can see. Then there's a big hole down here where the nearest strait opens out into the Baffin Bay. And that's about all we can see on that layer. So let's turn that off. And here we are today. So let's see what we can see with this satellite view. It's pretty cloudy. Here's Novaya Zemlya, and this top part, see, is still in the dark. Here's the Russia coastline. Here's the Yamal Peninsula. Here's some sea ice, but it's very cloudy. We may not be able to see much at all because of the angle of the sun. And see, these clouds are casting shadows. Okay, here we're coming into the Laptev Sea, and this is, methane's coming up through the sea ice, and over here in this East Siberian Sea, can't really see much, but we do know that methane is coming up. Here's some cracks. See all these long cracks. These are the leads that open up, and then it starts breaking apart. Here's Wrangell Island. Here's the Bering Strait. We're looking through clouds, but you can see the sea ice here with the big cracks. And coming around, here's the Beaufort Sea. No, not yet, sorry. I got lost. This is the west side of Alaska. There's the ice. Here we go. Here's Alaska. There's a cloud. There's Barrow. And here's the ice. So it's pretty solidly frozen, it looks like. Down here, you see all these cracks. And we're looking through clouds here. Let's look at yesterday. Oh wow. Look at this. Watch the ice move. Here we go. See, it's pulling away. That's the ice drift that pulls it away. And see all these leads. And this is some of that aqua, thicker sea ice that's slid down there. And here are the tributaries. Can't see much. There's the Hudson Bay. And there's Greenland. Here's Canada. Here's the regrowth along the Canadian border. And Baffin Bay. Pretty cloudy, huh? And so it's coming into view, and we'll start tracking the Greenland ice sheet melt. I think that comes online in April. So that's all we can see up there. Now we'll go to the Antarctic. So I'm going to start over here with my A76 or iceberg. See, here he is. He made some movement this week. See, it's getting further away from this western peninsula, and so we'll go back. Here we were last Sunday, so more just kind of even there. There's the 13th, 14th, there it goes. 15th, under a cloud. 16th, under a cloud. 17th, we can make it out here. It's kind of rotating to the left a little bit. There's the 18th. See, there's a perfect view of it. See these pieces? These are pieces breaking off. It's still amazingly intact. I mean, it's a huge iceberg still. I mean, it probably has its own weather. And there it slid a little bit there today. And then coming on down, here's the Western Peninsula, and let's see, here it was yesterday. We can get a little bit better view of the ice here. So this is our thicker sea ice right around in here. And there's methane coming up. That's what we saw on CAMS all along this Western Peninsula. See, that's melting. Here's the ice shelf. And see, this east side has pretty much melted out. Okay, right down here, here's the Brunt ice shelf, and here's A81 iceberg. This is what broke off. So let's go back. Here we were last Sunday. Remember, we saw where it had been anchored in. That anchoring has come apart now. And see, it slid way down from where it calved off. Okay, here's the 13th in a cloud, 14th in a cloud, 15th. Now we can see it under the cloud. It's rotating. Here's the 16th, 17th. This is a pretty good view. See it's rotating around, and it's not anchored in at all. Oh wow, look at this. Here's yesterday. Let's go in. So let's go back. Okay, so the 17th. See, this area had a cloud. There we go. There's the 18th. And here we are under the cloud today. But it's broken loose and is not anchored in now. Okay, let's come down. Here's the west side. Here's Pine Island Glacier. There's a cloud there. But remember, we saw the sea ice collapse in about a week. It was really shocking. And I haven't seen any more calving, but doesn't mean it's not setting up to do that. It's just too cloud covered to tell. We can go back to last Sunday. Let's see, cloudy. Wait. So it almost looks like a break here through the clouds, but I can't tell. can't tell. This is all open, and then here's the Thwaites Glacier here, and we've got clouds, and this tongue is still disintegrating. See, here's the biggest piece left of it, but see how it's all coming apart. I mean, when it goes fast. And this ice next to it, see, that's coming apart. So let's go back to last Sunday. Here we are, clouds. Thirteenth, 14th. Let's look here. That's not a crack, that's an outline. See, it was just cloudy all week. So the best view is from yesterday, and it just looks like this whole area is breaking up and sliding down. I can't tell how much more is broken off here this week. It doesn't look like that much, but I could be wrong. So there's that. And see all this open water right up to the coast. Here's the Ross Sea. This is open. See, this is the Ross Ice Shelf. Here's Ross Island. There's Mount Erebus, the volcano. See the shadow. The shadows are getting longer. Here's another shadow. These are clouds. Look at, see, this is melted here. Here's some wispy ice. Here's the southeast end. So this area is where we saw it so much warmer than normal. And this Totten Glacier has been covered up all week. So I don't know if we can see anything. No, see. Just covered up with clouds. And then coming around this east side. See, hardly any ice. Here's the Amory ice shelf. There's a cloud. Okay, here we are yesterday. See the blue? I'm thinking, I don't know if that's from melting or if that's algae. or if it's just the angle of the sun. I mean, if we saw some melt ponds, then we would know that's from melting. And then the north end, almost no ice. And then here's the Brunt ice shelf. Okay, now we'll go over some earthquakes. We've got 216 worldwide in the last 24 hours, and very active. Let's see, on this west side of the Pacific, very, very active. We've got 5s and 4s, and here's a 5.0 South Sandwich Islands. Now that's not far away from our iceberg, the A76. And this one, we've had them here before. It's a little unusual to have it this far away from the tectonic plate line. That's a 5.3. This 5.1 just came in at Tonga. Anyway, so just lots and lots of movement. And let's just do our weekly overview. 7 days, all magnitudes. So in the last week, we're showing 1,934 earthquakes. There were a couple up here by Iceland. So these are Arctic earthquakes up here. Let's see, right on the plate line there were 3, a cluster here. These were all on the 13th and 4s range, mid 4s. And then another Arctic earthquake here off the coast of Koktovik, Alaska, 3.5, and that came in on the 17th. And we had 6.1 at Miyaga, Philippines, and we had a 6.1 near Tual, Indonesia. See all these 5s and 4s. I mean, it's just covered up. And Turkey is still rocking. It hasn't stopped. And this week they had 36. Now this is with the international earthquakes, they're usually like 4.0 or higher. So I think the largest was in the 5s range, 5.2, yeah, 5.2 and 5.0, and then the rest are 4s, and so on. Romania had some activity. 5.6 near Lelesti, Romania on the 14th. And 5.0 on the 13th there. And look at this. 4.5 near Leni, Italy. Now this island is Sicily, and I'm having a brain fart. The volcano here, and then there's these are volcanic islands, so oh, I know the name of that. I'll think of it. So 4.5, very near there. Mount Etna, that's right. Mount Etna right down here. And then there's volcanoes on these islands too. And see movement in the Atlantic there, and see all along the Pacific, and really all around the Ring of Fire. Look at all of this. Cocos Plate, so on. Now the Juan de Fuca Plate, we had movement here at the north end was a 4.6, and that was the largest one for the Juan de Fuca Plate. And then we had movement further south here, 3 more, and then here at the fulcrum point 2. So that's moving. And it's just more of the same. See, we're just covered up. And I'm just still amazed with all this movement. And we're still here anyway. Oh, and New Zealand had activity this week. 6.1 in the Kermadec Islands, and then down here on either side of the North Island, where there's a 5.0, and then on the south end a 5.7 near Cook Strait. And that's what USGS is showing. I know that we're showing a 6 or 6.1, I think, north, but you know, maybe it was this 5.7 that got downgraded anyway. And they had a cyclone hit this week, Gabrielle, and it flooded almost the whole North Island, and it's wiping out a lot of farms and things, and so it's a huge disaster down there. So it's everywhere you go. Okay, so that's my report for tonight, and I like to bring it back to a spiritual perspective, and we're making our way through the book of Job. Job chapter 19. Then Job answered and said, How long will ye vex my soul, and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times have ye reproached me. Ye are not ashamed that ye make yourselves strange to me. And be it indeed that I have erred, mine error remaineth with myself. If indeed ye will magnify yourselves against me, and plead against me my reproach. Know now that God hath overthrown me, and hath compassed me with his net. Behold, I cry out of wrong, but I am not heard. I cry aloud, but there is no judgment. He hath fenced up my way that I cannot pass, and he hath set darkness in my paths. He hath stripped me of my glory, and taken the crown from my head. He hath destroyed me on every side, and I am gone, and mine hope hath he removed like a tree. He hath also kindled his wrath against me, and he counteth me unto him as one of his enemies. His troops come together, and raise up their way against me, and encamp round about my tabernacle. He hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are verily estranged from me. My kinsfolk have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. They that dwell in mine house and my maids count me for a stranger. I am an alien in their sight. I called my servant, and he gave me no answer. I entreated him with my mouth. My breath is strange to my wife, though I entreated for the children's sake of mine own body. Yea, young children despised me. I arose, and they spake against me. All my inward friends abhorred me, and they whom I loved are turned against me. My bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. Have pity upon me, have pity upon me, O ye my friends. For the hand of God hath touched me. Why do ye persecute me as God, and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book, that they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me. But ye should say, Why persecute we him, seeing the root of the matter is found in me? Be ye afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that ye may know there is a judgment. Job chapter 19. So even though he was suffering, and God allowed it, And Satan was trying Job and, making him come under attack in all these different ways, trying to break Job so that he would turn his back on God, but he didn't. And you can see at the end of this chapter, even after, he's crying out about how God has punished him and all this stuff, forsaken him. But then at the end, he's looking forward to seeing God, and he knows that his Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. So this is kind of prophetic too. So I do believe we are in the end times, and we can, see Job as an example, because everybody's going to be suffering through what's coming and what's here and what's coming. And just know that time is short. You need to get right with God and Jesus, get your spiritual house in order, and be ready for whatever comes, and give it up to God, and as to be found worthy, that you can be in God's kingdom. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend it. So I love all of you, and I'm praying for you, and I hope you have as good a week as you can, and Lord willing, if things hold up, then I'll be back next Sunday with another report. God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.